Пацани, старайтесь сильно там не зациклюватися і продовжувати.
Imagine this. Two American Bradley fighting vehicles facing an entire Russian bridgehead, alone. Tanks rumbling, smoke filling the air, soldiers advancing from all sides, and just two Bradleys standing in their way. Can two machines really stop an entire Russian advance head-on? Today, we bring you the unbelievable true story that shook the battlefield. This story comes from the Russia-Ukraine War. A small village, strategically important, became the focal point of Russian forces. They had established a bridgehead, a strong foothold that would allow tanks, artillery, and soldiers to push deeper into Ukrainian defenses. If that bridgehead was secured, Russia could launch massive offensives into nearby towns. But there, guarding the critical passage, stood only two Bradley fighting vehicles. Now, to some, Bradleys may look like just armored carriers. But don't be fooled. These American machines are deadly. Armed with a 25mm autocannon, two anti-tank missiles, and unmatched mobility, they can be the difference between victory and defeat. The Russians expected no real resistance. They thought two vehicles couldn't possibly stop their might. But what happened next was beyond imagination. It was early morning. A thick fog covered the battlefield. From the distance, the heavy rumble of Russian tanks grew louder and louder. Inside the Bradleys, a handful of soldiers prepared for what could be their final stand. Over the radio, the commander's voice was calm but firm. "Men, if we fall back now, the bridge will be lost. And if the bridge is lost, so will our towns, our families, our people." Another soldier replied, determined, "Then, this is where we fight. Even if it's the last thing we do, there was no turning back." And so, the two Bradleys rolled into position, facing an enemy far greater in number and firepower. The Russians fired first. A thunderous blast shook the ground as shells rained down. But the Bradleys responded instantly. Their 25mm autocannons roared like thunder, spitting fire across the foggy fields. The very first burst tore through a Russian armored vehicle, sending it up in flames. Then, one of the Bradleys launched its TOW anti-tank missile. The missile screamed through the air before slamming straight into a Russian tank. The explosion was massive. A fireball lit up the sky as debris rained down. But this was just the beginning. Wave after wave of Russian armor and infantry advanced. Dozens of soldiers poured across the bridge, supported by tanks and armored carriers. The Bradleys had to move fast, darting from behind ruined buildings, firing, then retreating behind cover. Every shell they fired had to count. Every missile was precious. Inside, the crews fought not just the enemy, but exhaustion and fear. Sweat dripped, hands shook, but their determination never wavered. For nearly half an hour, the battlefield was chaos, a storm of gunfire, smoke, and steel. And then, something incredible happened. The Russian advance stalled. Their tanks were burning, their infantry scattered. The bridgehead was collapsing. When the dust settled, the two Bradleys still stood, battered, ammunition almost gone, but undefeated. Against all odds, they had stopped an entire Russian bridgehead. Think about it. This wasn't just about two armored vehicles. It was about the courage of the men inside them. They knew the odds. They knew they might not survive. But they also knew that if they failed, thousands of innocent lives behind them could be lost. This is what true courage looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the decision to fight despite it. The story of the two Bradleys reminds us that sometimes